listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? Attaccare!
Welcome to the Euro Show here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Nick Devano and Josh Parrish here on a Monday evening. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for joining in a little bit later, catching up. Leave a review on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get it. But if you're here with us live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, leave a comment. Let us know some of the things you liked from the weekend. A lot of club football, the World Cup draw, a lot happening in all the big leagues, Josh. It's been a monumentous weekend because we've had a bit of a look ahead towards the World Cup draw coming up. Obviously, we're going to look at the World Cup draw, but obviously on the weekend we had a look of what to expect in the World Cup, but also we saw the return of club action in all the big leagues this weekend.
Yeah, lots to talk about. Lots of potentially, I wouldn't say title deciding, but title race affecting ties up the top end of the table, particularly in Serie A and in the race for the Champions League as well in La Liga. So we'll get to them in the back half of the show. But World Cup, it's the biggest thing in football. We've got to start there.
Unfortunately, we do.
Unfortunately.
We do. This isn't the eulogy. This isn't like last week.
We're not going to go to black and white cameras again.
No. We don't have to. It's been a week of mourning. The week is over now, and it's time to get on with it and move on with life. We've reached the final stage of grief, and that is acceptance. And I said that I wouldn't reach that until Qatar, but it's come a little bit earlier because Serie A's back. So it's kind of made me forget about the trauma that was a week and a half ago. So let's have a look at the World Cup draw. We're not going to go through all 32 teams or potentially all 32 teams because we haven't gotten all 32 teams qualified yet. We don't know exactly who those 32 teams are. We're just going to have a look at which of the European sides that have qualified and obviously one of the three that will make it in Group B as well. So let's start off with Group A. One European nation, that is the Netherlands. Big chance for Netherlands to progress from this group. They've got, I don't want to call it an easy group because no group is easy in the World Cup. We know that always these groups, they might look easy and they tend to be a little bit harder, but they've got the host Qatar, Ecuador and Senegal. Senegal, arguably the hardest team of that group. They actually opened the World Cup against Senegal in the opening game. One of the weird quirks of this World Cup that the hosts aren't going to actually open the World Cup. But for the Netherlands, well, it's a chance to right the wrongs of the Euros. Went out in the round of 16 against the Czech Republic. Is this an opportunity for them to potentially bounce back? Well, let's wait and see. I mean, there are always high expectations with the Dutch, and they've got an easy group, and you'd have to expect that they'll progress to the knockout stages.
Well, one thing that maybe casts a cloud on their chances is the pretty startling admission from Louis van Gaal that he's suffering from prostate cancer.
Yeah, massive news in midweek there.
Yeah, he's gone on a talk show in the Netherlands and while he was promoting a documentary about his life, which of course Louis van Gaal has a documentary about his life. What a guy. But he made that admission that he's been battling with his health, and I suppose that's got to affect the playing group when you've got a manager who doesn't know if he's going to make it to the tournament in terms of whether he's going to be healthy enough to be on the sideline. So that's the big thing facing the Dutch. I think after the Euros there wasn't a huge amount of buzz about the team. But anything can happen in international football, and I think they're slowly but surely improving.
Absolutely, and as we mentioned, they've got a group that really, I think they would, and at least a lot of football pundits would expect that this is a good chance for them to not only progress but to top the group as well. This is actually their first World Cup since 2014 as well. They missed in 2018. They missed the Euros in 2016 as well, so they're on the way back after some lean years. In terms of their squad, I mean, they've got enough talent on paper at least. They've got the likes of, Matty de Ligt, who obviously got sent off in that famous game at the Euros against the Czech Republic. Virgil van Dijk's back. We assume this time around, obviously did his knee last season, so he missed the Euros. But other than that, there is talent all over the park. My only concern is where are the goals going to come from other than Memphis Depay? I mean, there's a lot of reliance on, the next lot of players coming through, players like Donyell Malen from Borussia Dortmund, or whether it be Wout Weghorst,
The big Burnley striker
who has some interesting views on my body, my choice, Steven Bergwijn. So where the goal's going to come from, I think that's my big concern with the Dutch going forward. As well, but with Oscar's telling us Jordi van der Laan is going to be the one. But there's still enough talent, at least in the midfield and in defence, for them to get through. So what do you reckon, Josh? Who's going to be the man to step up, and who's going to be that player that will really help the Dutch through in this tournament?
Yeah, it's a conundrum. I think if they can get the best out of Frenkie de Jong, I think they have a good chance. But he's been patchy, hit and miss in his time with Barcelona. Memphis Depay is the key player, obviously. But I also think Denzel Dumfries is pretty underrated in terms of his late bursts into the box and his athleticism.
He's been good at international level, but his Inter form is polarised.
Yeah,
he hasn't been amazing since going to Inter.
But think of the guy he's replacing. That's a high bar.
Yeah.
So I do think this Netherlands team is going to get through the group. I don't think they're going to go much further than that. And there's already some seeds of dissent being sown in the camp with Virgil van Dijk rather thoughtfully stating that either they play a 3-4-3, but he would prefer to play a 4-3-3 if he was in charge. So already they're bickering amongst themselves, which is so classically Dutch.
And it's not a very good sign if there's already a bit of internal sort of, discussions about, what formations we'd rather play with, what sort of system. But anyways.
It's a little outdated as well, the football that Louis van Gaal tries to play, I find. It's very disciplined, but it's also quite slow in the build-up.
Yeah.
And
they're not going to be very fun.
No, this team is effective mostly in transition and on crosses to Weghorst when he plays. Yeah. And a lot of the time, we saw it at Manchester United when Van Gaal was in charge. You've got this evenly spaced team who's just trying to keep possession, switch the ball from side to side, and they don't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
Whereas the teams now, the most progressive ones, are focused on hurting teams through the middle, pressing, counter-pressing, winning the ball back. The Netherlands are a little bit old-fashioned in their
total
approach.
Football.
Well, it's not even that adventurous
football anymore. It's just boring.
It's just a bit. Louis van Gaal thinks that if you have the ball, you are therefore attacking, and that's not really the case because a lot of time they keep the ball for possession's sake. Yeah. And I think the side is actually better without the ball. So they might struggle against, teams like Qatar in this group who are going to set up shop and counterattack.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's leave the Netherlands for just next. We've got quite a few teams to get through. And let's head over to the English. Well, they're technically not in Europe, but we've got to give them a bit of
love.
They
are in a FIFA sense.
In UEFA, but not in a political sense. So England are in Group B with Iran, the USA, and one of Wales, Scotland, or the Ukraine. We'll find that out in June. England, I mean, let's be real, they are a tournament favourite. In 2018, semi-finalists, runners-up at Euro 2020. This is a team that should win this group. I think it's, that this is just putting it bluntly, like, this is no disrespect to Iran, no disrespect to the USA. The amount of talent that England have, and, this is supposed to be another golden generation of English talent. This should be a team that, goes far in this tournament, and I think the expectation should be to win it. And I think that's quite a fair statement as well, to put it, quite bluntly.
Yeah, I think, there's been a lot of backslapping, as there often is when the draw comes out. You know, best group since the Beatles was the headline. I remember in 2010, was it? When they got
saw what
USA, Algeria. Like that.
Who was the other one? Algeria and, was it Ghana?
No, it wasn't Ghana.
No, Australia were in Ghana's group. We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But, they got what they perceived to be a very straightforward group in 2010, and they actually only just made it through with a Jermaine Defoe goal, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember Wayne Rooney coming off the pitch and, ranting at a camera, nice to see your own fans booing you, So, it can go poorly for the English when it seems like they've been kissed on the proverbial. So
that's the other nation.
Slovenia, of course.
And they beat Slovenia 1-0 in match day 3 after...
How could I forget Rene Krahin's Slovenia? But this group presents some challenges. I don't think they're going to have too much trouble against the USA. But against Iran, that's a decent side. That's a side that potentially those in the English media and even those in the English camp might underestimate. And then whoever makes it through the playoff, I would love to see Scotland play England again. I would love a rematch.
Absolutely. And the Scottish should knock them off this time as well. It'll be even better.
But having said all that, having concern-trolled my way through that explanation, I do think England's going to top the group.
Yeah, and I think they'll go far in this tournament. My only concern is I think the biggest talking point that will come out of England, as it is with a lot of these big nations, is who is the 23 or 23 or 25. I don't know what the cap limit is this year with squads, but who goes to the World Cup, because their squad selection has polarised for quite some time. And you look at their last team they selected, there are quite a few big name players that were left out due to injury or other reasons, or not having a subscription to the Italian Serie A. I don't think Gareth Southgate even knows if Fikayo Tomori exists. But looking at some of the players that weren't selected, this is how deep they are. Guys like John Stones, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Kyle Walker, Ben Chilwell, Kieran Trippier, Fikayo Tomori, Eric Dyer as well, who's been in and out of the team. Calvin Phillips out with injury. Bukayo Saka, Tammy Abraham, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Let's just stop you right there. Marcus Rashford is not going to the World Cup. Come on.
No, he probably won't. But I'm just saying, in terms of a big name quality player, when he's at his best, he's in the England squad. So it's like, okay, when you look at the players that were selected for the last lot of games, you'd have to think, players like Tyreek Mitchell, Tyrone Mings, you'd have to think Tyrone Mings misses out ahead of Fikayo Tomori. No disrespect to Tyrone Mings, but Tomori's a better player than you. Mark Guehi as well, Connor Cody, Kyle Walker-Peters, for God's sake. There's depth in midfield as well and up front, but, there's got to be some give and take here with some of the guys that are missing out.
I guess so. Mark Gay actually played pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, but Fikayo Tomori, John Stones or Mark Gay?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
John Stones has been very much had a mistake in him, let's say, in a big game. So I can understand looking for other players.
John Stones has been pretty decent.
And they're taking the time to experiment. Conor Gallagher, I think, is actually a very good player and is sort of the energetic force that you love to throw into the midfield with 20 minutes to go. He's a very enthusiastic player, so I could see him making it. Crystal Palace have been really good this season, but it would be nice for Southgate to look beyond the shores of the Premier League.
Well, he's got two players literally dominating in Serie A at either end in Tomori and Abraham. Especially Abraham. Abraham's a game changer for him as well.
That's true. But the thing is with England, it almost doesn't matter who they take in midfield and in defence and in the forward line, because the midfield is where the World Cup will be won and lost for them.
Yeah.
And unless Jude Bellingham really steps up and takes this tournament by the scruff of the neck, and he's still so young, I don't see another progressive English midfielder to make this side
Hey, well, if you ask West Ham supporters, they're going to tell you Declan Rice, because he has the most carries into the final third, apparently, even though I think that is a bit bollocks. I actually haven't seen it. I've just heard it from West Ham fans. I can just pull it out from thin air.
But he's doing that in Premier League games that are extremely end-to-end and very open. And international football has played at a much... It's played at a very different pace. And we saw it. You don't have to, try and use West Ham stats to back up Declan Rice. You can just look at the evidence in front of you, which is the Euros. And England were incredibly stodgy. They were very defensively sound. They got through to the final based on that kind of discipline, but it was actually Calvin Phillips who was their most progressive midfield player, probably their best player, and he's been out with injury all season, so he's not coming into this tournament in good form. So it's their midfield that concerns me, and I don't think Jordan Henderson is going to fix it.
Well, I think for me, from the players that did miss out, I'm looking at these players here who missed out. I'd be taking Saka. I'd be taking Tammy Abraham. I think if Jadon Sancho finishes the season well and goes into next season with a good run, I think Jadon Sancho goes. But then again, it's like a way up of, do you take Jadon Sancho or do you take one of, Emile Smith-Rowe, Ollie Watkins? Are you taking, how do you fit Grealish, Foden, and Jadon Sancho? I mean, the other one is as well, if you ask, again, West Ham supporters, we had this one in the group chat, Jared Bowen apparently in the England squad as well.
Jared Bowen.
But ahead of the others, it's tough. And then, the defenders they've got out at the moment, Alexander-Arnold.
I mean, there's some underperforming Manchester United players who I'd happily drop from the English squad in favour of Jared Bowen.
I mean, in terms of who? Well, Rashford wasn't picked.
No, that's true. But, I think a lot of the time the English squad is based on NRI and who's playing for the big clubs. And that's not necessarily the way it should be.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish will get called up regardless of what he does for Manchester City. I think he's been appallingly bad this season.
Hey, he signed a deal with Gucci.
He's been playing with a straitjacket on. All he's contributed all season is, I'm going to control the ball from the switch and pass it back to Cancelo, who's going to do the actual creative work. And whether that's just Pep Guardiola's instructions putting him in a straitjacket or whether he's actually dipped, I'm not convinced that his club form deserves.
But will he still be in a straitjacket for England? Probably.
Well, he's probably not going to get on the pitch.
Yeah, that's the other
thing
as well.
In Euros, everyone was, clamouring for Jack because the English have this preoccupation with the, Gascoigne-like creative genius who's going to win in the tournament. To be honest, I think Phil Foden is probably more likely to see minutes for England at the World Cup than Jack Grealish is.
Maybe Smith-Rowe might.
That's a good point.
He's had a really good season.
That's a good point. He's not been involved much.
He's actually been pretty damn good.
He has to go, and they have to start incorporating him now.
The other interesting one to keep an eye on is about Reece James, as if Reece James gets his move, which apparently he's handed in a transfer request to Chelsea, and if he gets his move away from there and whether he, gets that opportunity then to come on up and go to a different club, maybe that might throw him back in there. But it'll be interesting to see how they do line up come that time as well. I think the other one to keep an eye on is Aaron Ramsdale. I wouldn't be surprised if he trumps Jordan Pickford by the time we get around to the
Sounds like we're very high on the Arsenal players and pretty low.
Oh, hey, they're in form.
That's true.
They're in form.
They're fun to watch as well. It's hard not to be biased in favour of the team that you actually like switching on and watching. But we'll talk about more of this on the EPL show.
It's amazing how things have changed. Let's talk about one of the three teams to emerge. Who are you picking? Wales, Scotland or Ukraine to be that second European team?
To get through?
What team would excite you the most out of those three? For me, in terms of storyline, Ukraine. I think it'd be great to see Ukraine in terms of, what they've gone through as a nation. In terms of, banter, Scotland.
Yep.
In terms of, a player that could actually beat England by himself with one bit of individual brilliance, Wales. Because Gareth Bale could just score a free kick and that's that.
Yeah, and Aaron Ramsey scored in the Old Firm derby last night.
Yeah, he did. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. So I think I'd be happy with either of them.
I don't know who's getting through. I'm not going to say Ukraine just because I think the whole situation is going to affect them.
It's going to be hard for them.
I risk alienating myself in the F&R group chat now, but I'm going to say Wales are going to get there.
I'm saying Scotland, though.
Yeah?
I'm saying Scotland.
All right, fair enough.
Group C, the only European side is Poland, and it feels like every time they're in a tournament, a group stage exit always looms because they are so reliant on one player, and that is Robert Lewandowski. It is a tough group with Argentina, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. I can't see Poland progressing. I think Argentina and Mexico are nailed on.
Poland are bad.
Any love for them? Anything?
No.
Nothing?
Poland are bad. They might finish third.
Look, if Pistolero or Piotek can, maybe chop out and help out, maybe, but I don't even think he's going to see minutes, and I don't think him and Lewandowski can play together.
Well, it doesn't help. Even if they do play together, it doesn't help because you need service for both of them.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen. So.
And if you're relying on one player as an individual in international football, you can't really be a goal poacher because they just get shut out of games. You need a creative genius in midfield or on the wing to do the heavy lifting for you.
So it looks like we are all anti-Poland in this one, unfortunately.
Well, anti-Poland,
but just
down on. We're pessimistic.
We've seen Poland at that many tournaments since Lewandowski's come into his own. We've always been, when are Poland going to actually take the next step? But it's like we then quickly remember very, very rapidly that, teams aren't won based off one awesome player. We learned that very, very quickly. And
We are Polish pessimists,
Yes.
and we're proud of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's go to Group D. Denmark and France. The Aussies are also potentially in this group. Let's start with the Danish, because they were very good at the Euros.
I love starting with the Danish. That's my favourite way to start the day.
Mate, best way to start it. A nice cafe as well. I mean, Danish croissants. It's your choice for Denmark and France. And I think we're going with Danish on this one.
It depends. It depends. If they smother the Danish with icing, it ruins it.
Yeah, but if there's not enough, if there's little icing, then we've got a good Danish. So, that's what we want. And we don't want to have too much of, because we know Denmark's got a lot of good attackers. We don't want too much sweetness. We want a bit of a balance. That's what Denmark's got.
You need your custard, you need your filling, and you need a solid pastry. You need a base to build from. And I think Denmark's got all the elements right now.
Now, Denmark were brilliant in Euro 2020 in turning around what was such a tough situation, that opening game against Finland after the Christian Eriksen situation, to make it all the way to the semis and come within a whisker of making the final, sending England all the way to extra time, and actually led thanks to Mikkel Damsgaard. Now, Denmark this time around...
How has he played this season, by the way? Because
he's been very quiet.
Yeah, I haven't heard a peep from him.
I'm actually going to double check.
They were going to sell him for 40 million euros or something in the summer, and then he didn't...
Damsgaard has only played... in all fairness, actually, he's been injured all season. He's been out since October, that's also something. He's only played 7 games, so that's something to keep an eye on. But another player...
I was expecting to see him in a Champions League team before long based on the Euros performances.
Well, I honestly think if he can return from injury for Sampdoria, whether it is the end of this season or next season, it could put him in good light, and this tournament might help that as well. But Denmark this time around will have Christian Eriksen, because Christian Eriksen is back and he's playing well. That's one thing to remember as well. It's not just that he's playing. He's hitting some good form. My only concern with Denmark is, how do they respond post Simon Kjær ACL injury? Because he's coming off an ACL. He is 32 years old. What sort of player will he be? Because he's a linchpin at the heart of defence alongside Andreas Christensen. I am very curious to see how Denmark respond from that. But I have a lot of faith in this team, because you saw how they rallied around after Eriksen's, such unfortunate circumstances, and how they were able to progress and do as well as they did. I get a good feeling they could top this group. I genuinely think they could. If all they need to do really is just get a point off France, get 2 big wins against Tunisia and one of the UAE, Australia and Peru, and that could be enough for them. And I think that they could do some real damage in this World Cup.
I'm not too concerned about them at centre-back because they have Joachim Andersen from Crystal Palace, as well as Yannick Vestergaard, obviously. So I think they've got enough quality to cover. Obviously, neither of them of Kjær's calibre, but in terms of a leadership void, Kasper Schmeichel has to fill that.
Yeah,
and I'm confident he will. Actually, I think he's a great leader from goalkeeper. In terms of the midfield, they're a little bit stodgy, but Christian Eriksen, of course, adds so much. And it's so good to see him back on the pitch, scoring
moving
against
away
Chelsea.
From guys like Delaney and Højbjerg as partners in midfield and going very stodgy. And
Højbjerg will still play. They'll probably play Norgard in there as well, who's done well for Brentford, but they usually go with the double pivot or 2 more defensively minded midfielders than Eriksen. I think at international level that's fine. That's okay. For a team like Denmark, they're not going to set the world on fire, but I think they've got a decent team. Whether they can back up and have a run like they did in the Euros, I'm not sure.
Tough.
That would be tough. But they did beat Serbia 3-0 in their last game. And, they only lost 4-2 to the Netherlands as well, which... not the best result, but, beating a team like Serbia is a good platform to go from. And the last World Cup qualifier that they lost last year against Scotland was when they were already qualified, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Yep. So these Nations League games in June will be pretty instructive. They're playing France in the first game of the Nations League.
They've got tough games as well, Austria and Croatia as well in June.
You'll learn a lot about the Danish national team, where they're at then, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know that they top the group ahead of France.
Yeah, I think if they get Kjær back, and Kjær is anything like he was before pre-injury, where he was just in blistering form for club and country, that will certainly help them out. And also from the intangible sense of having a leader like Simon Kjær, one of the best leaders in world football. He galvanises the group, and having Christian Eriksen back as well. I wonder if they can ride that momentum, and really get it together on paper. But let's move on. France, world champions. Now, we spoke about the curse.
I said something wrong last time we spoke about this.
Okay.
I have made a factual error. I said that no World Cup winner since 1998 had made it past the group stage in the next World Cup.
Yeah, well, Brazil
actually,
didn't.
Brazil
Yeah,
did
but went
in
out in the
2006,
quarters.
but they went out in the round of 6.
Quarters against France, 1-0 loss.
You're right, it
They
was the
beat
quarters.
Ghana 3-0.
But you can still say that was a disappointment based on the talent in that squad. They had Ronaldinho, Kaká, Ronaldo, Adriano as well, at his peak.
Yeah.
Pairs Adriano, just score from anywhere. We all know that Brazil side from when Australia played them. So we know that was an underachievement. Brazil are the only World Cup winners to back up in the next tournament and actually make it out of the group stage. So whether France will fall into the curse...
Well, let's hope it's at Australia's expense and Australia gets there and Australia's the team that knocks them out. But let's talk about the French. I mean, is this Deschamps' last... I don't even want to call it Deschamps' last dance because I think we all hope it is Deschamps' last dance so France could stop playing such calcioterismo and actually start playing and realise their full potential.
Managers have a sell-by date. It has to be over for him.
How do you see, because this is also a conundrum with France. Karim Benzema's back now. We saw him back at the Euros. We spoke about this actually a little bit on TNC last night, but do France go, same sort of diamond setup, now having Teo Hernandez at left back, who's going to give him a lot more than what Adrien Rabiot was giving at left wing back in the Euros. Do we see some sort of front three with, Griezmann playing in behind and Mbappe and Benzema as sort of that,
they've been playing 3-4-3 recently, or 3-5-2.
They've brought Olivier Giroud back into the system, which means only one thing. He's going to play a role. And it doesn't matter if he's scoring for Milan or not.
And he might break Thierry Henry's record too.
He's close.
He's not far away. Yeah. He's not far away, which is amazing. Look, I think Deschamps will, when coaches are under pressure, they generally default to what they know. And Deschamps will end up playing Giroud at this World Cup. I think that's the wrong decision from a ceiling perspective because Benzema is a much more talented forward who could do much more for you. Now, not time to play Giroud's qualities. His goal scoring record speaks for itself, but that's to do with his longevity as well as, because he didn't score a goal in 2018 when they won the thing. No. So I personally would prefer Benzema in the starting lineup. But he has a very fractious relationship with the French public and with the media. And he's been very vocal on certain racial issues in France, which doesn't necessarily endear him to the French public. He said he's made comments like, I'm French when I win and Algerian when I lose, which, he's speaking the truth. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about...
I think there's a lot of French players that are, maybe in that same boat as well, technically,
France has huge racial politics issues. There's a really good documentary on Netflix that covers that, if people are interested in exploring that issue further. But it's all about how the 98 World Cup win didn't quite lead to the sort of racial harmony that that everybody hailed it as at the time, and that kind of stuff wore off, and then it came to almost a head in 2010 with the team that
the Dominic
thing and
debacle,
Anelka and Patrice Evra and everything. So I think Giroud will end up playing, and that will put a ceiling on this team. But I do find it interesting that they've changed the formation. Because they've got some amazing central defensive players, including Jules Koundé, who I think is the next big
they went
star.
to a back three during the Euros, but they just didn't, to use a terminology I hate using, they didn't have the cattle to actually fit the system. But now that they've actually picked Teo Hernandez for this World Cup, I think it's understated how important he would be. This is not me speaking just as a Milan nuff, but how good of form he's been
not just as a Milan nuff.
No, but
at least partially as a Milan nuff.
Look, but seeing how Teo Hernandez played, especially in those Nations League finals, and he scored that all-important goal against Belgium, helped lead them from the back, really just gives them that extra driving force and the service. Players like Benzema and Giroud will thrive off that sort of service all game if Teo Hernandez is bombing up the flank a million miles an hour like he does all game. But maybe that system might work best for them. Going three at the back might be all right. Varane probably gets called up again. Jules Koundé, Kimpembe... it's pick and choose whoever it's going to be in the back. Lucas Hernandez
why I don't
well.
think they're going to win this World Cup is because the older players will end up clinging on to their spots in the big games. And this always happens when a manager has a successful team. He sticks to his favourites. And although Deschamps has been experimenting in the friendlies, when we come down to the crunch, I do not believe that he's going to bring these new players through. I think he's going to go back, to the cattle that he won the tournament with in 2018, and some of them will be just past their peak. So I don't think you're going to see an Aurelien Tchouameni in the World Cup.
Well, we're probably going to see
knockouts.
Adrien Rabiot and N'Golo Kante.
Speaking of favourites, like I don't know who that guy's parents are, but
well, his mum is like his number one fan. Well, fair enough.
That guy keeps failing upwards into the upper echelons of European football.
What's the famous quote from Denzel Washington? Fail forwards. Adrien Rabiot has done that. Like that's been his entire career, and it was funny seeing. We'll talk about the game a little bit later on, the Derby d'Italia. But James Horncastle, she tweeted this morning, was like, Rabiot is actually playing good. Like, what? Like he's actually playing well. But it'll be interesting to see how that happens, because that means if he's going to do that, he's going to have to bring back guys like Moussa Sissoko, Anthony Martial, Corentin Tolisso hasn't been playing
I don't think Martial comes back. I don't think he's going to.
No.
But yeah,
I'd like to think so. I mean, like, back.
Would I be blown away to see a France recall for like Blaise Matuidi? Not at all.
No, not at all.
Doesn't matter where he's playing.
I think he's retired, hasn't he?
Oh, is he?
Is he playing like the golf? I don't know.
I thought he went to the US
MLS?
or something. But
let's have a look.
Where is Matuidi at these days? This is the kind of
no, he's
he's retired.
He's retired.
All right. Well, now I would be surprised.
He
to see a
retired
recall.
young. He spent a year at Inter Miami and then said, "I want to finish
he
up."
was still at Inter Miami, but anyway, but that ruins that one. But you know, players of that ilk, like Varane, hasn't been very good at Manchester
Steve
United.
Mandanda will come out and be the backup again, just for moral support. And Mike Mignon will be dropped.
Lloris will play because he's.
I swear, if Mike Mignon's not starting, I will be on the phone to Didier myself.
Well, you better get his number, because I really think we're going to have a couple of puzzling selections that are more to do with personality and experience than they are with performances, and that's why I think France won't back up and do it again. Let's go on to
I think they'll progress, but it'd be tough.
Yeah, no, I think they're getting out of the group. I don't think they fall into the curse category.
Let's speed through some of these favourites, or some of the bigger name countries. Germany. Tough group with Spain, Japan, and one of Costa Rica and New Zealand. I said yesterday on TNC they're not going to make it past the group stage, and I stick by that. I think Germany are getting ready to fall off an absolute cliff, and I think it's already started.
Have they not already fallen off that cliff?
Well, if they haven't already, they're teetering on just like by one branch. Like they're hanging on for dear life. I mean, at the Euros, they weren't very good. I mean, they got through, in third place off a 2-2 draw against Hungary, where they should have lost, and then they lost against England in the round of 16.
But Lowe was still in charge at the Euros, though, wasn't he not?
Yes. So now it's different.
It is different now.
Now it's different. Yeah. I mean,
they've got Jamal Musiala now. They're bringing through a couple of new players, even if most of them do play for Bayern, which is always the case.
Of course.
But I just don't think you can win a tournament with Timo Werner up front. I just don't think you can do it.
Is Hansi Flick going to be able to find the answers for them?
I think I need to see more Julian Brandt. I need to see
more Robin Gosens back in the squad as well. Be important for him at left wing back.
And I need to see more Thomas Muller up front and less Timo Werner, because
they need a finisher, man. They don't have a finisher other than Thomas Muller,
Timo's supposed to be a finisher, but I think he just has big for his own good. He just has big game yips.
Yeah,
the guy you can't rely on him in a knockout game.
Well,
so I don't think they're going to go far.
So there's the guys that weren't called up last time around. Serge Gnabry, you think will be back in the team?
I wouldn't even mind. I wouldn't even mind Kai Havertz as a false nine.
Can you see them going to a false nine
under
Hansi Flick?
Under Hansi Flick, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, I think they've got a little bit of trouble with, again, that older generation of players who was initially dropped under Lowe and then brought back, Muller and Hummels and all those guys. So yeah, I think they're starting to move on from them, but interesting to see. There still seems to be between generations, which is amazing after all these years.
Find it very hard to progress from this group. I think Japan are going to S-house their way past them and
wow.
make it.
Okay. Well, I think Spain topped the group.
Yeah,
though.
I think Spain they're actually my favourite to win it. I think that if they get it going on the pitch this time around, they get the right cattle out there as well. I think they're going to be so hard to stop. I think the one thing will be interesting is who's in goals. We spoke about that last week. Will it be David De Gea?
I think it's Unai Simon. I think it's Unai Simon.
It's a new era. I mean, for Spain, there's a lot of guys. I think the interesting one is we saw Luis Enrique move away from Sergio Ramos at the Euros. Is Sergio Busquets next? Is he the next Bambi? Taking out the back and put out to rest, unfortunately. Is this his last go-around? I mean, they've got enough talent to fill the Sergio Busquets void if they decide against picking him. But I think it's getting to that stage now where if you want to be serious, like this is just being straight up, I think you got to move past Busquets.
Busquets still defends very well on the front foot, which is counterintuitive.
I think it might be time to move past him, though.
I think Koke is being groomed in that role now. It's a little bit late, but
30.
He's finally inheriting that jersey, I suspect. But I would be hypocritical if I, claimed that you couldn't win a tournament with Timo Werner up front, and then I said Alvaro Morata is going to be just fine.
Hey.
You never know when you never know.
Don't hate on my boy.
But we all saw what happened at the Euros. We all saw his complete mental collapse.
He's got to play with a strike partner, though. But they're not going to play with a strike partner. That's how Morata's going to thrive. He plays better when he's playing off the shoulder with someone else. Well,
unless they move Olmo inside, that's not going to happen.
No.
Luis Enrique, thank you, prefers the 4-3-3. So that's how they're going to set
I hope they pick Fabian Ruiz, though, Josh. I would love to see Fabian Ruiz at this tournament.
Very interested to see Jeremy Pino in the mix. We spoke about it a few weeks ago, scoring 4 goals for Villarreal in the match. So he's playing his way in.
Ansu Fati or Mikel Oyarzabal or Adama Traore, do they work their way in as well?
Look, the net is cast so wide under Luis Enrique, it's almost impossible to predict what the starting 11 is actually going to be. But they've got such a deep pool of players that I think they're a decent pick to go far. That's almost the weakness of this team, that you don't know what their best lineup is. But I think they'll probably settle on Rodri in the holding midfield role rather than Busquets. And Pedri playing and ahead of him with Olmo somewhere sort of drifting around the forward line.
Let's talk about the Kings of NRI, Belgium. They're in the next group with Croatia, Canada and Morocco.
I mean, Belgium's golden generation was done after 2018.
This is a very different Belgian team based off who they selected for the last go-around.
Yeah, but the last go-around, they decided to rest everybody.
Absolutely.
That's not reflective of who's going to play
But the question is
December
that I have for you, Josh. Now, Jan Vertonghen is 34 now. Toby Alderweireld is 33. They haven't retired from international football, but it's not as if Belgium have a lot of centre-backs at the moment coming through. Do they both go? Do they have to go almost by default, the two greatest words in the English language? How many of those of that golden generation get picked? Does Eden Hazard even get selected anymore? Because he's not even playing. Is he the tough selection? Potentially, or it could be the other way around. Maybe just he hasn't been playing, it's going to be even more disastrous for them.
I think they do, because it's too late to really start bringing through a new group, and they'll go based on reputation alone. I think Belgium are going to fail at this tournament. If there's one team who's got to go out in the group stage, I think Belgium are a decent shout. But also, they tend to perform better in the lower pressure games, and then end up choking later on. So I don't know where to slot them, but it's not going to be top of the group for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of it also is relying on Romelu Lukaku. He's got to score, because
and he's not in a good place right now.
No, and he also doesn't play well in a front three, and they play that 3-4-3, and I don't know whether that's going to work for them unless they go to that 3-4-1-2, play Kevin De Bruyne in behind, and maybe him and Dries Mertens up top, or whether it is Jeremy Doku, who I think, honestly, Jeremy Doku's got to be the guy that they strap the
Jeremy
rocket to.
Doku's great, but he's such an individualist. Like, it's almost like when he came on, was it against Italy in the Euros?
He was very good that game.
He was great, but everything became about him and whether he could succeed. And if they weren't going to score through him, then they weren't going to score regardless. And I found that a little bit the same watching Adama Traore. Like, they're similar. They're similar in that once you get them the ball, they're going to dribble, and they're probably going to beat someone, but then you have no idea what's going to happen.
But you might need that against teams like Canada and Morocco who are going to sit back. You need someone who's going to be able to take someone on.
They don't really buy into the team concept, I guess. That's my issue with players like Doku and Traore.
So you know who's got to play then? My boy Salamaker, Alexis Salamakers. I tell you what, strap the rocket to him, man. He's going to be the difference maker. Okay. Let's talk about Croatia, because our friend Ante Jukic has already said they're going to top the group. He's already looked past the group stage. He's looking at semis. He's looking at, this is it. We're going to win the World Cup this time around. We're going to go one better. Now, if you listen to him, Croatia are ready. They're primed. They're ready to go.
The Modric's last dance.
Yes, even though that was supposed to be the Euros, but
he's still sticking around.
It's been delayed. There's a sequel to it. Can you see them doing it?
No.
I could. They'll progress for me. They'll progress.
I can't see
I can't see him winning it.
I can't see them going to the final again with Zlatko Dalic. I don't think lightning strikes twice for a coach that mediocre.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see that midfield combination. This is Modric's last dance. He's not going to go around after this.
I like the formation that they're playing at the moment, but
but
Dalic is one of those guys who just picks based on reputation and seniority rather than performances and attributes. So I think when push comes to shove, our friend Ante is going to be quite frustrated and throwing things at his TV when he sees the lineups come out.
Ante wants to see some sort of combination with, Lovro Maja and Kristan Jakic and Nikola Vlasic with Modric in there. But in reality, we're going to be ending up with Mateo Kovacic, Modric and Brozovic as the three. Now, two of those guys are fantastic, but we know what Mateo Kovacic is like. He's just going to run all day and he's going to spam late runs. Is that going to be conducive to what Croatia want to do? Maybe not. So,
I mean, Kovacic's problem is he just doesn't really move off the ball enough. Like he can dribble out of
the ball. He's going to take on plays. That's all
he can dribble out of a phone box, but yeah, he's kind of lazy off the ball. Like he's got the attributes to be that late third man runner, but I don't know if he has the attitude to do that.
Just give me the ball at the edge of the box and I'll just absolutely ping it from range.
Yeah, well, the thing is he doesn't even score that often as well. His goal scoring record's really bad. So he's a player who flatters to deceive for me.
So you're saying they're going to go through though?
Oh, Croatia will go through for sure. I think they might even top the group. But as for winning the tournament, I have my doubts.
Group G, race through these two teams, Serbia and Switzerland. Again,
I like Serbia.
I like Serbia. But I like Switzerland as well because I
don't like Switzerland. I think Switzerland are trash.
I think Jan Sommer's going to pull something out of his hat. He's always got something up his sleeve. I think Switzerland's going to actually finish second in this group and they're going to make their way somehow to the quarterfinals.
Switzerland might be bottom of the group for me, out of the group stage.
Really?
Yep.
You think Cameroon's going to finish above them as well?
Yeah, maybe, but 3 and 4 don't really care. Brazil and Serbia are going through.
Okay, last team, Portugal. I hope they go out and they finish bottom of the group, but they probably won't. One player I want to see do well at this tournament is, of course, Rafael Leao, but we know he's not going to play because they'll go Ronaldo, João Felix and Bruno Fernandes. So what do you think with Portugal?
I mean, does Rafael Leao really deserve to play ahead of all those guys?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm not going to get into this.
Yes.
I mean, they've got so many good forward players, though.
You know what, though? Rafael Leao coming off the bench for 25 minutes at the end might be worth it.
As a bench player, yeah, sure. But I've made my opinion on Ronaldo pretty clear, but I don't think I don't think Leao should be the one starting. It should be João Felix.
I know you want to say it, Josh. Yes, Rafael Leao.
I don't want to say it. I won't say it. I won't say it. It's preposterous, and we've got a Milan fanboy next to me. Won't listen to reason. But I hope Portugal beat Uruguay because Ghana needs their revenge.
Yeah. I hope that Portugal don't progress. I don't like Portugal at all. And
they're bad to watch.
Yeah.
And they still got bloody Pepe playing for them.
And they can't progress from third, so they're not going to make it. So, they got Pepe and Jose Fonts need to be retired and stay in retirement.
And this manager needs to go. Santos is just... He's the worst, most boring manager. He won a tournament, now he's invincible.
Why do Portugal always get such terrorist managers? It just feels like they never get an inventive manager.
No.
They're always such conservative managers, pragmatists.
Well, I think they will take after Mourinho. I mean, the Mourinho effect is real. Like one day Mourinho is going to coach this team.
Yeah, so
and I think that needs to be soon, to be honest. I think he's going to
be next.
He could be next in line if he wants to step away from club management. But yeah, Portugal, I think they probably will go through in the group, but I don't want them to.
Let's take a break, Josh. We've gone through all the European nations at the World Cup. We'll talk more about the World Cup as we get closer to it. But when we come back, we'll skim through. We'll take a look at some of the club action on the weekend. There was a lot of excitement from all the big leagues. We'll kick it off with the Old Firm. We're back in just a second here on the Euro Show on FNR.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
And they're Roma have risen from their ruins. Nonetheless, the Greek god in Rome. The unthinkable unfolds before our eyes.
You are listening to FNR Football Nation Radio.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? Attaccare!
Welcome back to the Euro Show here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Miss any of the program, make sure you head over to our podcast platforms, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, wherever you get it. Catch up on the start of the show. We spoke a little bit about, well, not a little bit, actually quite a bit about the World Cup draw and all the European nations.
Extensive European preview of the World Cup. It's hard to make it through
Even though
groups.
it is like very early before the World Cup. We're still like 7 months away, but we kind of did a bit of early crystal balling ahead of that. So, go check it out. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. You know, be scathing. Let us know what you. Even any Portuguese fans out there that want to just tell us you guys are just nuffs and you just want to see bad things happen to us. Well, yes, we do want to see bad things happen to the national team. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about club football. We're back this weekend. We're now getting into the nitty gritty. About 2 months left of club football before the end of the season. Title race is heating up. But let's start over in Scotland. Old Firm derby last night. Celtic 2-1 winners, 6 points clear on top of the table. Josh, Ange doesn't want to read into it. He doesn't want to say it's over just yet, but they at least have one hand on the premiership right now. They are closing in, and that was a big win last night. A bit of revenge as well for earlier in the season in the process as well.
Well, I think this is more of a revenge game for Rangers, to be honest, after the 4-0 thrashing. Oh, people forget with the way Scotland works, these teams meet multiple times, like more than twice per season, because the league splits in halfway through, and then they have the relegation league and the title league, which is actually a cool way to do it. It's like having finals, except
it's cool for like a small league, like a 12-team league or 14-team league, whatever they're. Is it 12 or 14? Whatever it is.
Who cares? Who cares what Ross County you're doing or whatever at the bottom of the table? But, Celtic, they went down after 3 minutes, which, at Ibrox, I was fearing the worst because you saw, the kind of... the issue that they were suffering in this fixture last time seemed to be a mental one. The intimidating atmosphere. They didn't seem to play their best football. But they recovered immediately. Tom Rogic scoring just 4 minutes later. And then Cameron Carter-Vickers with a pretty scrappy goal, it must be said, off a free kick. The ball just fell to him, or happened to fall to him in the right spot, and he smashed it in. And Celtic were, I guess, I would say the better team throughout. The Rangers didn't have too many chances, and the Rangers keeper actually had to pull off a couple of really, really good saves to keep them in the game. So aside from a bottle being thrown at Joe Hart, it was pretty uneventful for Rangers, even if they did have that late chance to level it through Kamar Roof.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's 6 points clear now, Josh. We saw Tom Rogic get an hour in the legs as well, coming back from injury that saw him miss the World Cup qualifiers. So it's good to see him back out there and also scoring.
And you can see why he's such a legend in Celtic fans' eyes when he keeps scoring these really important goals in big games.
Big game time. Good to see. And one game left before we head into the split. Celtic play St Johnstone on Sunday. Rangers have got St Mirren. That's also on Sunday. So St Mirren are 10th, St Johnstone are 11th, so that's big heading into the next part of the season. But Celtic and Rangers already will meet again in the Scottish Cup. I believe that's in the final. That's on the 17th of April. There's a semi-final actually. They'll play the winner of Hearts and Hibs on the. Who also
baby!
Play, so
derbies,
yes,
on both sides of the draw.
That's actually pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. That is pretty tasty Scottish Cup fixtures. I wonder if that was part of the draw process. It was like, we need to get them on opposite sides so we can get two derbies. And
there's 12 teams in the league, by the way. I've just looked it up. The two groups of 6 when it splits halfway through the year.
So this is in 2 weeks' time. Hearts Hibs at 9:15 p.m. on a Saturday night in Australia. And then the next night at 11 p.m, the Old Firm. Not the 9 o'clock friendly slot we got last night, but still okay. 11 p.m.'s all right. But the night before, we know that, Lockie Flanagan is going to be up and about, for that one, for the Hearts versus Hibs rivalry game on the Saturday. So that's going to be an absolute cracker, to say the least. But Josh, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the Serie A. 2 massive games over the weekend, or really over the last 24 hours, that have, again, as we always say, thrown a spanner in the works of the title race. Napoli 3.
Yeah, this is like that Simpsons meme with Bart. It's like, say the line, Nick. Say the line, say it again.
Yep, throw a spanner in the works. Napoli 3, Atalanta 1. A big win for Napoli on the road. They stay within touching distance of Milan, who play tomorrow morning against Bologna. They've tied it up for the time being, but I believe at this point, at least according to FOTMob, Milan are ahead of them on head-to-head, even though Napoli have the superior goal difference.
Correct. And Milan have a game in hand as well.
They play tomorrow morning against Bologna. So a good win for Napoli. Insigne with the early penalty, then a really nice set play routine for Matteo Politano's goal. A nice little dink, and Politano just slammed the ball past Juan Musso to make it 2-0. Darun pulled one back for Atalanta, but then your boy Alfie Elmas with the sealer, a lovely little finish at the end there to put the game to rest. So a good 3 points for Napoli. And right now they're right within touching distance, just making things quite interesting heading into the final 7-8 games of the season.
I have one question coming out of this game, Nick.
Yeah.
Where was this Lorenzo Insigne when you really needed him?
I said it last night on the pod, Josh, when it happened. I said, where the hell was this in that game? And to be honest, I still don't know. And it really irks me. It really does. But the big thing out of this is Atalanta are now down to 7th. They're 8 points behind Juventus with a game in hand, but their hopes of getting back to the Champions League next season are right up in smokes right now. They're behind Roma, who are in form, and Lazio as well, who won on the weekend. So that's a big loss for Atalanta, but for Napoli, a massive, massive 3 points. It's put them in really good stead heading into this next little bit. Even without Victor Osimhen as well, it's a big result for them. So good to see that, they're staying in touch. I was a bit worried that Napoli might start to fall off a bit of a cliff. I know I'm a Milan fan. I'd love to see him fall off a cliff to make things a little less stressful. But usually at this stage, we've seen Napoli start to fall to bits. But this time around, they're sticking right in the hunt.
Is Victor Osimhen ever going to get a consistent run of games? Like, what's going on with this guy?
Well, I need to double check if he was injured or suspended for this game. He was...
It seems like he's always missing to me.
Yep. So let's have a look. Just confirming, because I thought I read that he might have been suspended.
Well, he was playing.
Yeah,
against...
he was suspended. 5 yellow cards. That's
yellow cards. Okay, because I didn't see that because there was no red card in the last game. So
he
played in the last game. All right. Well, that makes sense.
So he's back for Fiorentina on the weekend. Let's move on to the other big fixture, the Derby d'Italia, the second Derby d'Italia of the weekend. The first one being Moulin Zebras versus Bulleen, the Victorian edition on Friday night. But this is the second edition of it, the proper edition at the Juventus Stadium. Inter 1-0 winners, back on track, a massive result for them. Hakan Çalhanoğlu with a penalty. It was as boring as you'd expect it to be. Juventus had 22 shots to 5, but only just trumped them in the XG. They rarely tested other than Denis Zakaria hitting the post. Vlahovic couldn't get into the game. He had one good opportunity, and that was about it. So
a retaken penalty, no
less.
It
was a retaken penalty after Szczesny originally saved Çalhanoğlu's penalty. But
well, it was actually retaken for an Inter infringement.
Yeah, it was. So a bit of maybe a bit of luck on Inter's side in that sense.
Yeah, but because the ball ended up in the back of the net. Well, there was loads. I mean, everybody was running into the box.
But Szczesny still went the right way on the second penalty as well. It was he almost got a hand to it.
It's bizarre, really. Everybody was encroaching into the area. Usually,
could have thrown a blanket over about 10 of them in that situation.
Look, they pointed the spot again because look, there was just so many players encroaching and the ball ended up in the net. So Çalhanoğlu had to take it twice, got a reprieve essentially after the save, and good finish on the second attempt. Went the same way into the side netting. But this was a terrible game, especially for Inter, who had 5 shots for the entire match.
But they needed this win. They just need to win this game for the form they've been in. I don't think Inter fans would be given 2 hoots about how they won this game because they have been in abhorrent form. So.
And hey, my boy Denzel Dumfries winning the penalty. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, he might be hitting some form now all of a sudden. But Juve, I mean, I don't want to rule them out of the title race, but that's a hammer blow because they'd been in such good form in the league heading into this. They didn't actually play too badly. They tried to play with a little bit more initiative in this game and pressed Inter, which is a big surprise when it comes to Juventus because usually they sit off, but they actually went and tried to play on the front foot.
And they put Morata, Vlahovic and Dybala all in the same lineup, and they look
Morata
better when
actually,
all they all play.
You don't look at the FOP mob rating. He actually did okay in this game, but Vlahovic just couldn't get into the game. He had one good opportunity. Zakaria was very good off the bench. He hit the post with a really good chance in the second half. But I think if Milan win tomorrow morning against Bologna, which they should, it's 10 points now for Juventus to catch up on. I think they got to focus on what's coming behind them, and that's Roma, who won again yesterday. They're only winning quite in these tight games at the moment, Roma, but they won 1-0 as well against Sampdoria this morning.
If Vlahovic scores that goal, and I know he didn't have much of a game, but if he scores that goal where he basically backheels it behind his own leg to spin onto it, the
sub-finish
the trademark Federico Marqueta move we talked about a few weeks ago, he just lost his standing foot just when he was going for the right foot shot, and he was under a lot of defensive pressure, but if he scores that, I mean, wow, what a finish that would have been.
On. But nonetheless, Juventus now still 7 points behind. They can go to 10. Milan playing Bologna tomorrow morning at 4:45.
You must have been bloody delighted to see that result, Nick.
No, I wasn't.
No?
Because Inter and Napoli are still in the hunt. Inter are 3 points behind, still with that game in hand.
Yeah, but Inter aren't going to make it. It's Juve that were the looming threat.
But you got to take one out of them, and you knock Juve off.
So you would have preferred a draw then?
Yeah, a draw would have been good. Just not kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But anyways,
I think for Milan and Napoli, this is actually a great result, despite what the table says.
You think so?
Because look at the team's form coming into it. Juve had won how many straight?
Yeah, but if
Inter keep dropping points.
But if Inter now use this to galvanise them in the run home, that's
they're not going to do it.
I hope
I can't look. They're only 3 points off, but I really can't see this Inter side winning the league again. Well, I reckon it's one of Milan or Napoli now.
Well, Milan, as we said, big game tomorrow morning against Bologna. They got basically all the cattle back, bar Kier. It's going to be a really, really good contest, because
you can extend that gap on Juve if Milan win to 10 points.
It's a big shame that we won't have Sinisa Mihajlovic on the touchline again. He has had He's had the recurrence of a tumour.
Yep.
So best wishes to Sinisa. He won't be there on the touchline. So Bologna will be turning to Miroslav Tanja to coach this game. It's Stefano Pioli's 100th Milan game in charge as well. He's had, I think, as well, if Milan win, I think he goes down as the best Milan coach over 100 games since Ancelotti's or Allegri or Ancelotti. I forgot which one it is, but
are you going to officially apologise to him for what you said about him when he was hired?
Look, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, Josh. It's been 2.5 years since then. He's done a very good job. So
I just remember Nick's Milan rant after Stefano Pioli was hired.
Hey, look, I am not the only one. There are a lot of Milan fans that weren't happy at that point in time. But this is a big game. If they win tomorrow, they go 3 points clear of Napoli. They keep that little bit of breathing space on Inter as well, and they basically end Juve's slim chance to the title. Just the last one from that, Roma 1-0 against Sampdoria. Henrik Mkhitaryan with the goal. Basically what you've been expecting from Roma all season. They're going to get jammy 1-0 wins, and they did exactly that. So their streak continues. They're in the hunt for top 4, so it's very good to see. In La Liga, Barcelona 1, Sevilla 0. Pedri, he's gotten some sleep. He's gotten some rest. About bloody time. He looks like a new man. And what a goal it was that he scored as well. Barcelona winning again. They're into second. They're not going to win. They're not going to catch Madrid, but my God, it's been some turnaround to Xavi. We were speaking about it a couple of weeks ago, but it is great to see the resurgence under Xavi over the past few months.
Yeah, they look like a real team again. With the greatest respect to Ronald Koeman, they just didn't look like a Barcelona side when he was coaching them. And Aubameyang's come in and given them a lot. He ended up cutting his wage massively in order to join the club, which I think was a great sign of his level of commitment, which had been questioned at Arsenal, not least by Mikel Arteta. But Pedri is a generational talent, as long as he's not burnt out by ridiculous amount of football that he was forced to play over the course of that, Euros and then into the Olympics as well, where Spain made the final. That was a bit of magic. If you haven't seen the goal, you've got to check it out. He dummies 2 players. And it's a bit like that Zlatan Ibrahimovic goal for Ajax back in the day, except in the reverse direction. He just keeps dummying players to the right and leaving two players on the ground, just breaking ankles left, right and centre, and then finding the back of the net from the edge of the box. It's a wonderful goal. And I think Barcelona probably deserved that win. They were a much better team over the course of the 90 minutes. Sevilla, pretty tough to break down. They're a good defensive team, but they're just lacking a little bit up front, and Martial coming in has not helped that whatsoever.
Well, moving on, Madrid 2, Celta Vigo 1. They were actually coached. Now, get this. Davide Ancelotti, Carlos' son, was coaching this game. So they got the 2-1 win. It wasn't easy. There were 2 penalties scored by Karim Benzema in this one. He actually missed one as well in this game, so he could have had a hat-trick of penalties. Either side of a Nolito goal. That's a throwback. Nolito for Celta Vigo, former Manchester City winger. Scored in that game. So Madrid are 12 points clear. You'd have to think that the title is all wrapped up. The other one before we wrap up here is Borussia Dortmund dropping points on the weekend against RB Leipzig. They were hammered 4-1. Basically, we spoke about any chance of keeping that title race alive. It's done. So Leipzig 4.
Borussia Dortmund are a Fugazi team.
Yeah.
They're just not good.
And Bayern
when it matters,
4-1.
they're not good.
Yeah, Bayern beat Freiburg 4-1. They're 9 points clear, and it's all but done. Josh, before we go, Champions League this week as well. Quarterfinals kick off on Wednesday. Benfica versus Liverpool. Kick it all off along with Man City versus Atletico Madrid. Quick predictions?
Benfica versus Liverpool.
In Portugal?
In Portugal. I'm giving Benfica a slight edge because of the home advantage. I'm going to say that one's going to be a draw.
Wow. You reckon it's going to be a draw?
I think it's going down as a draw. I think Liverpool probably will get the job done at home in the second leg, but have you seen the Benfica stadium when it's rocking? It's quite a sight.
Quite hostile. I'm going to go Liverpool 1-0 in this game. I reckon they'll get a jammy goal and there'll be enough for them. City versus Atleti at the Etihad. I am going to go a 2-1 City win. Atleti have been in some better form recently, and I don't think... knowing El Cholo, he's got something up his sleeve for this game, and I reckon he's going to frustrate Pep in this one.
I'm going to say it's more straightforward for City than that. I think it's 2-0 for Manchester City.
Thursday morning, Chelsea-Madrid. That's a big contest at Stamford Bridge. I am going a 1-1 draw in this one. I can't separate them, but I think Madrid might have the edge. Chelsea did not look good against Brentford. I'm sure you and Oscar will touch on it in the EPL show in just a sec, but 1-1 draw for me in this one.
I'm going to say Madrid win the away tie, 2-1.
Wow. Villarreal, Bayern Munich in Spain.
Villarreal, I mean, they're a tough team to predict.
I think Emery, talk about coaches something having up their sleeves. Unai Emery's definitely got something up his sleeve for this one.
I think Villarreal might have a good evening.
I think they'll win. I'm saying Bayern 2-0.
I think I'm going to go for a draw.
Okay. Well, I'm
going to say 1-1, and we're going to have... Who's going to score for Villarreal? Quickly, who's a Villarreal player?
Yeremy Pino?
No, not Yeremy Pino. I reckon it's going to be a Danny Parejo free kick to secure a 1-1 draw. There we go.
Fantastic. And just in terms of the other games to keep an eye on this week, if you just keep casting your eye over some tasty contests, Europa League, RB Leipzig, Atalanta looks like a big one. Frankfurt play Barcelona on Friday morning as well.
Well, let's see if Aiden Rustic gets some minutes.
West Ham Lyon as well. That's going to be a fun one for the Hammers fans out there. Can they dare to dream? Maybe they're in the quarters now. They're testing themselves. They're going for European glory.
Well, when David Moyes is in charge, the Europa League, that's his stomping ground.
Yep.
He took Manchester United into the Europa League, and actually, I don't know if they even qualified for the Europa League.
And the other one in the Conference League, Jose Mourinho returns to the place where his Roma side got beaten 6-1.
Ooh.
They played Bodo Glimt again, and they met in the group stage, so they play again in the quarterfinals. I don't know if it will happen, if that will be a 6-1 drubbing again, because it almost have been a lot
Give them
better.
their full name, Bodo/Glimt.
Bodo/Glimt, yes.
Bodo and/or Glimt.
And/or Glimt, yes. So that will be an interesting one. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that one. But just in terms of other big fixtures, keep an eye on in terms of title race stuff. If you want to sort of, the big title race only really left is Serie A. So Napoli, Fiorentina, Inter, Hellas, Verona, Cagliari, Juventus next week, and Torino versus Milan.
Oh, that Torino-Milan game might be interesting.
Yeah, Monday morning, 4:45. Before then, they've got to beat Bologna tomorrow. But anyways, let's wrap things up here tonight, Josh. EPL show up next.
Yes, we've had to switch it from Wednesdays. We're going to be talking EPL today instead because of Oscar's A-League commitments. That's coming up right on the other side of the break, so stick around.
Well, we'll be back again next Monday from 6 p.m. We'll hope we promised the big announcement last week, but we hope that we can get that to you soon about, a certain show we want to launch. We've run into a bit of a delay, but we'll get there. Don't you worry. Keep an eye on the socials, but we'll be back. How are we looking for the rest of the week before we go?
Yeah, so we'll have Oz Football Hour tomorrow, and I believe we're doing Radio Dub as well because we've got to talk Matilda stuff and maybe even some MPLW and Women's Super League as well, Pakua's across that. Then we've got the Green Room on Wednesday. No EPL show on Wednesday, of course, because that's coming up now. And on Thursday, no State of Our Football Nation again this week, but we will have the Lions Den live from Jenna Steele Stadium's new
Boy, is it exciting at the moment in Preston
man.
Land.
I mean, their women won as well yesterday.
Yeah.
They beat their title rivals, Boroondara, 4-0, would you believe?
And hey, you know what? Preston have taken on a fellow promotion candidate this weekend in Doveton, so you're not going to want to miss this Thursday show. It's going to be tasty.
It's going to be big. We're going to have Olivia Edwards from the women's team. We might even have the assistant coach as well, and we'll have a men's player as well joining us. So stick around for Thursday, the Lions Den coming to you live from BT Connor Reserve.
Anyways, we'll be back again next Monday here on the Euro Show. Until then, enjoy your weekend in European football, and we'll see you then.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know.
Buona giornata, buona serata, buona giornata.
There's not really time to relax and take an espresso for Juventus.
You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? You thought I forgot about you, didn't you? Attaccare!
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering